Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we've got a game today with Dawn of War 2. We love our Dawn of War 2. And I've got Steam on. Ah, shit. Fuck it. We're going to roll with it anyway because we got Chuzar and Deimos. Brothers who love to bash heads. And what kind of brothers do you love if you don't love brothers that like to bash heads? That's what brothers do, right? We love that shit. Lictor Alpha versus the Tech Marine. A pretty decent matchup, actually, if I'm being honest with you. Really epitomizes the difference in these two factions and the way that they're played. Deimos in tier 2 with the Tech Marine. If he can get the Plasma Gun on the Tech Marine and a Razorback with all the repair support that the Tech Marine has, things are going to go pretty rough for Chuzar. Unless Chuzar can get to tier 3 when that happens. And you know what? There is actually a decent chance of Chuzar being able to do that, because the amount of pressure that the Lictor Alpha can put in to the Tech Marine early game, huge. But I say the initial opening here hasn't really gone in the way of Chuzar at the moment. Right now, these termagants are basically doing nothing. They should have just retreated. What's the point of this backpedaling? He's now lost 2 termagants. He's lost 3 termagants, and the tax would have been forced off either way by the Lictor Alpha. Okay, maybe the tax could have gone inside the garrison. It doesn't matter, just leave it to it. Though I would say that is actually a reason to get the Spore Mines still, even though Spore Mines are pretty terrible. I wouldn't get them against Space Marines on a map where you don't have garrisons, but with the garrison here, the garrison here, the garrison here, I'd say it definitely is worth it. Anyway, you want the termagants to meet scouts, or you want the termagants to meet the Tech Marine, and then you pull the Tech Marine forward with Flesh Hook, and then double focus fire them with your Lictor Alpha. And then with the Tactical Marines, you want to avoid them as much as possible in the early game, and if you do meet them, you want the Homagons and or the Lictor Alpha to meet them. And that's not really happened with Chuzar here, so we're seeing a lot of bleed. Really, I would argue, quite unnecessary bleed. 4 models down there, 1 model down there. Load of models off the Homagons. So if we look at the XP, the Lictor Alpha is the only one who's killed someone. I guess he killed a scout at some point. And we're getting a nice trickle of XP on all of these Space Marine squads. And this is how the Space Marines actually survive in the early game. Now, Deimos has actually opted to build 3 gens. That's alright. Again, I feel like Deimos's gen timings are a bit off. This is a really old replay though, to be fair to Deimos. He's probably... I'm calling him Deimos, aren't I? Yeah, it is Deimos. Not Deimos. Deimos, yeah. This is a really old replay, so he's probably upped his game on the generators for now. Anyway, one thing to note with this garrison here, it's very low on HP. So the Homagons could actually be meleeing the garrison. And you know, if it did get down to 0, that would blow up the squad outright, so that's something to consider. Once again, pointing out the opportunity for good Spore Mine players here from Chuzar. Awful position for the tax here, they need to retreat. Possibility of taking that tap model out. Looks like he's just going to get away on pretty low HP, but basically all this HP is on that model, so it's going to take forever for them to heal up, which is very annoying for Deimos. So if we look at our upgrade options, yeah, so he's gone for triple gens, and then, you know, that we might argue whether or not that's a good idea, but what he has done correct is, if you are going to go for triple gens, rather than buying new units, which cost a lot of rec, you should get upgrades which are more disproportionately power intensive, and that justifies your gens, and he has done that. He's gone for his shotgun and sergeant upgrade on both the sergeant squads, and quite lucky to get out there without actually losing any models. With all the green cover here, this actually looks like a nice position for Deimos. Yeah, Chuzar's going to have to just back out of here. I must admit, I don't really think the Lictor has been putting on the pressure that he'd like to be. I want to see that Lictor hooking the lead models of these scouts into the ranged blob, or the Tech Marine to force him off regularly. Nice use of cover there to advance with the scouts and not leave them vulnerable to losing any models from a big burst from the Tyranid ranged blob. Now, I'm curious if Deimos just wants to take off this. If he does, he really badly needs to start focusing on capturing power nodes. because he's floating a lot of wreck. Okay, no, he's going for a second attack squad. I don't know if that was intentional. I imagine Deimos probably wanted to just fast deck off this, but he obviously recognised he was floating loads of Requisition. It's probably not worth it. It's going to be ages till he could get the 125 power. He's going for the second tack squad. What I think I would have done instead, because I don't think the second tack squad here is very worth it. I'd rather just wait for the red and drop in the second tack squad with a drop pod and get the discount, and also not have to wait for the build time. I would have focused on trying to capture this point with my scouts, so then I could node it. Same with that one. And if I was still floating a little bit, I would then start getting some upgrades on my tech marine as well. Eventually the rec power balance would balance out when you've got basically 6 generators with 3 power nodes. Now this is what I wanted to see. We do see some Ravener models falling though. Double tax putting in a lot of pressure. I don't think Chuzar really expected that level of damage. But he did flesh up the tech marine in and focus fire him off, which is nice, but it's not really a good trade, is it, for Chuzar? You know, that tech marine doesn't bleed at all, and he's lost a Ravener. Point blank shotgun blast. And then what's he going to do? Run to the garrison? I'd really like to see this garrison chip down in HP, because it's proving quite a nuisance for Chuzar. I'd also really like to see him getting some spore mines. Really dominating map control from Deimos, and that shouldn't be happening here. The Tyranids should be putting on a lot of pressure in tier 1. Now, one thing I will say is this build by Chuzar, I don't like it. I don't understand why he's got Raveners right now. I think Warriors would have been great, to be honest. Now, Raveners do counter these scouts better than Warriors, I suppose, but the Warriors buff all the rest of your army, which is really huge. You don't have any basic synapse when you're playing the Lictor Alpha. And now he's getting a Tyrant Guard with no basic synapse, so I don't know, just a lot of questionable things here. So far, a really dominating game from Deimos. I mean, I did have this one sent in for me, so I have to imagine there is some sort of crazy comeback from Chuzar on the way. Because right now it looks like a very dominating game by Deimos. I mean, he is absolutely smashing it. To be so ahead in VPs and nearly on par with tech against Tyranids, that doesn't make any sense. And that would suggest to me that Deimos is in an amazing position. I mean, when Deimos gets double Plasma Gun on the tax, and then he gets Plasma Gun on the Tech Marine, I really don't know what Chuzar can do against that. Like, this Tyrant Guard's gonna melt. Yeah, it can go into Shield Wall and get Vehicle Arms, but you just ignore it. As soon as it comes out of Shield Wall, it's gonna die in 10 seconds anyway to the Focus Fire again, so... You know, while it's in Shield Wall, it's not doing jack shit. Now, at least we're seeing Ripper usage. I do like that from Chuzar, that's good. You know, so many Tyranid players recently, you never see them use Rippers, and it's just poor. Great little unit. Especially against a faction like, well, especially against a hero in particular like the Tech Marine. Even losing the red on your Rippers isn't necessarily a bad thing, because you still get 75% of the red value that is given when you lose your Ripper Swarm. And the point is that the Lictor Alpha's red abilities generally are a lot more spammable than the red abilities of the Tech Marine. Because the Tech Marine's red abilities are basically useless if he doesn't have vehicles. So yeah, TG's just been sent to the generators, which is, yeah, I don't know what Chuzar's doing here. This is stupid, to be honest. There isn't any plasma guns yet because Deimos has opted to rush a Dreadnought first. I don't really understand that either. I don't really like Dreadnoughts against Tyranids because Venom Broods can rip it to pieces so fast. I mean, right now a Venom Brood is going to be easy for Chuzar to get, and Chuzar wants to get a Venom Brood anyway. He's got 3 range units in the field and he's got no synapse. He already wants a Venom Brood. So the TG can tie up the Dreadnought in melee and the Venom Brood can rip it to pieces at ranged. Just getting a Razorback for the mobility with your range blob, and then triple plasma guns, that's just going to be the best bet. So it might be an idea now as well to swap to the melee Raveners to control this blob here, and then get some Adrenal Gland Warriors after you get the Warrior Brood. So yeah, he had a Zonethrope on the way, which, again, I don't think makes any sense. I don't know why Chuzar would want a Zonethrope in this instance. All of the ranged forces of Deimos are pretty mobile, and not particularly vulnerable to Zonethropes either. Maybe it's for repair support or healing support for the TG. Terrible. But the TG's shit anyway in the matchup. Why dedicate more resources to trying to facilitate it working? It doesn't work. I mean, it can work. If they go for like an AC Dread or something, it'll be amazing. But Deimos should never go for something like that. Really, he shouldn't even have a Dreadnought. He should have a Razorback right now. Especially on a big map like Sewell. Pressuring down here with your attacks, and then they come with a big force, and boom, you're gone. It's just so annoying for Tyrannus to deal with. Requires very good Ripper play, and capillary towers everywhere for line of sight. Lictor really hasn't achieved very much this game. Okay, so the Zonethrope was cancelled in favour of the Venom Brood once the Dreadnought was spotted, and that was really lucky actually, because he only spotted it with about 10 seconds left before the Zonethrope came out. I'm only just seeing the Adrenal Glands now, which I also find rather bizarre. Rippers, for some reason, are meleeing the Dreadnought. Well, I guess it's to slow them down, which is okay, because there's nothing supporting the Dreadnought, unfortunately. Scouts are mismicroed, and the Tyrant Guard actually managed to kill them, well, with the support of all the ranged blob, they did most of the damage. So a bit of a questionable engagement here from Deimos, and this is really why you don't want the Dreadnought. It did basically nothing there. It killed some Rippers. That is your 450, 120 investment. It killed some Rippers, and then it was forced off. And he's going for the Assault Cannon. Oh my god, Deimos, what are you doing? No, there is a Tyrant Guard on the field. You beat that motherfucker up hard right now in melee, but now you've just given up melee resist by getting that upgrade. And now the Tyrant Guard can probably, if it's under Synapse, 1v1 the Dreadnought. Never mind with the amount of damage coming in from the Venom Brood as well. And this has given Chuzar the opportunity to go tier 3. Wow, this is a disaster. Because let's think about it. Offer out tier 2 here, Deimos has basically done no bleed to Chuzar. He's killed a couple of Gaunts, that's it. The Tyrant Guard hasn't bled. I haven't seen him even take out many Ravener models, and the Venom Brood hasn't been popped, because there's no pressure on the Venom Brood, because all the melee is so immobile. I don't know what to say, guys. Now, here we go. We're getting some good DPS onto the Venom Brood here from the Tech Marine. A decent barrage, trying to hit the intercepting Polygons who are pouncing on that Techie. Rippers once again tying up the Dreadnought. They need to get out of there now, they're just feeding him XP. I'm not sure about that last Ripper usage. But either way, Chuzar's basically just stalling at this point. If he gets a Thornback Carnifex out, it's going to be a really bad time for Deimos. Because he's committed so much to the Plasma to deal with the Tyrant Guard. He's really got no AV. This Dreadnought's going to get wrecked by a melee Carnifex. The nice thing about the melee Carnifex is, that was an awful barrage, Jesus. Needed to do it in the other direction, obviously. I don't think it would have killed the Lictor anyway. The thing with the melee Carnifex is, it both can spawn Rippers, and it can charge. So even if you get a Lasdev, that's never going to kill a Thornback Carnifex on its own. He could get swapped to the Meltagun, but... or he could get another Dreadnought himself. Yeah, melee Dreadnought plus the Lasdev, now that will threaten the Carnifex. So if there's another Dreadnought on the field, what I'd probably do when I get the Carnifex as Chuzar, I'd make it Bow Strangler. If there was no threat of a Dreadnought and just like Lasdevs coming out, then I think the Thornback would be superior. But with a melee Dreadnought, yeah, the Thornback actually doesn't do very well against melee Walkers. Might be a good idea to use Blessing of the Omnissiah here. All the Plasma Guns, oh man, look at that. Absolutely wrecked the TG there. Nice synaptic backlash as well. This is why the plasma's so brutal in this matchup. And the counter is to have a lot of tanky melee units. So Adrenal Gland Warriors, even though they are heavy infantry, they've got so much HP, so they can get in deep and do a lot of disruption, far better than the Tyrant Guard can do. And they're faster as well. And then you can get Gene Stealers, which are only light infantry, but they're a lot tankier than your Hormigons. They do heal in melee, obviously with the melee synapse to make them a bit stronger. And then you'd also swap your Raveners into melee mode. And then with those 3 units, you could disrupt these attacks for ages. Especially because he hasn't got a melee Dreadnought. But even if he does have a melee Dreadnought... Oh wow, this is a big mistake. Multi-melter. That seems like a huge overcommitment. Especially when the Tyrant Guard's already dead. Okay, well, back to a farm back Carnifex then. Do you see what I'm doing here in my head? Like, if that was a melee one, I don't want to come near it. My farm back would have no chance. It'd beat it, but it takes so long to kill it. It'd be rubbish. But now that that's a multi-melter Dreadnought, the farm back Carnifex is actually going to do really good damage to it. And I know that I can tie that up in melee quite easily. And then I can spawn those Rippers to tie up any last devs. And if shit does go down, then I can just charge out. Whereas a Barb Strangler Carnifex might be quite questionable, because the Dreadnoughts could just close in on melee and bully you, and you can't actually back off because of the multi-melter. Really not seen too much from the Lictor Alpha here. He's just been running around side capping, not really achieving a whole lot. Probably going to go down to melee now. Power of Dreadnoughts, baby, look at that. Swatting bugs and throwing them aside. It's the most pathetic Lictor Alpha I've ever seen in army life. Okay, here we go. Farm back Carnifex is out. Really liking the look of that thing in this colour scheme. Looks very fierce. Look at that. Kind of blending into the sand. Kind of, not quite. Looks cool either way. Oh my god, we're seeing triple Dreadnoughts. What on earth? How the hell has Deimos managed to acquire the resources for this? I mean, clearly he has not been bleeding whatsoever. Oh, god. Carnifex Special just annihilates that poor Tactical Marine Sergeant. Okay, Raveners should be tying this guy up in melee. That was an awful charge. What was the point of that charge, Chuzar? Why did you just do that? Use the charge to disrupt Lasdevs or to escape. Don't try and kill stuff in retreat with it or something. I don't know why he's focusing on the tax. Just tie them up in melee with shit and kill the Dreadnought with your Carnifex. Now, Blessing of the Omnissiah should come down, and the Tech Marine and the Scouts can both be repairing the Dreadnought, and the Carnifex is dead. And it can't disengage because the multi-meller will shoot it to death. I mean, just an awfully handled engagement by Chuzar there. You hate to see it. Such a beautiful Carnifex as well. This is a classic of this matchup, I swear to god. Space Marines staying tier 2 and spamming Dreadnoughts in order to counter Carnifex. But, come on. It's totally ridiculous. That should not have happened. But I think this game basically was in Deimos' hands from tier 1. Not really a whole lot more to say there. Alright, yep, I ain't got anything else that I can think of. I mean, Deimos, you smashed it, brother. Let's see a few more replays where someone smashes you, please. Because this wasn't really that close, even though he did get a Carnifex out. There was no chance he was beating triple Dreadnoughts with it. But there you go. Thanks for tuning in, folks. That is all from your boy Torpid today. So, Torpid out.